All right, so far we talked about the endocrine system, which is one of the control systems in our body. The other control system is the nervous system, okay? So when we have a stimulus, when we think, right, then we actually, the brain actually directs that signal to the nerve ends of our body, okay? And then we actually move, we actually think, right, we feel, okay? So that kind of like process is due to the nervous system, okay? And that nervous system actually gets broken down into two. So central nervous system involving brain, okay, brain, and then the spinal cord, okay? And peripheral nervous system, and that involves the sensory neurons, so the sensory nerves, okay? So sensory means like we see, right, optical, or we smell, we touch, okay? So that kind of sensory, and also that's motor, okay? So motor neurons are like the ones that actually act, okay? That moves, okay? So that moves the skeletal muscles, okay? And all the other muscles are called somatic, okay? So somatic actually involves moving of muscles, okay? Especially the skeletal muscles. Okay, so when we want to walk, okay, or when we want to like move, or when we want to like bend, okay, then that actually involves the acting of the somatic neurons of the motors in PNS, okay. But the other ones, the autonomic, is it's involuntary, okay. So these are involuntary. Out of the muscles, there are muscles that can't really move voluntarily. For example, when we're talking about the muscles, okay, we talk about three muscles, okay? First one is the skeletal muscle that's bonded to the bones, okay? So skeletons have the muscles that's wrapping around the skeletons, right? So these actually involves in the movement of the skeletons. Okay, so for example, when we walk, when we run, okay, that's when the skeletal muscles move. But you have smooth muscles, okay? So an example of smooth muscle is like in your breast, right? Okay, so you have a smooth muscle in your breast so that like when you eject milk, okay, then that smooth muscle actually acts, right? But it's involuntary. Okay, so even if we want to like move these smooth muscles, it's not going to move, okay? So it's actually autonomic, okay, involuntary. Also, another muscle is cardiac muscle. This is a heart muscle. Okay, so this is also involuntary muscle because even if like we want to stop the heart, okay, that's not voluntary, right? So this is like involuntary muscle as well, all right? So voluntary, involuntary, involuntary. So out of these three, actually this muscle, skeletal muscle, is what participates in the somatic neurons, okay? And the autonomic neurons actually involves these two, okay? All right, so that's on page 230. Okay, so nervous system. The vertebrate nervous system consists of central and peripheral components. Okay, and the outline of the peripheral nervous system. So when we want to focus more about this, okay, then it has two. Sensory, which is conveys information from sensory receptors or nerve endings. Okay, so when we see, when we feel, when we touch, okay, so that's going to be the sensory. Okay, motor stimulates voluntary and involuntary muscles. Okay, so somatic system actually involves the skeletal muscle, which is voluntary. Autonomic system, this one, actually involves the involuntary muscles, which is heart muscle and smooth muscles, okay? So out of the autonomic system, actually we talk about two different nervous system, okay? That's called sympathetic and parasympathetic, okay? Sympathetic is just the fight or flight mechanism, fight or flight response, okay? So when we fight or when we run away, then what happens is we increase heart rates, okay? And then blood sugar level increases, okay? And our respiration rate, breathing rate actually goes up, okay? And the adrenaline, the epinephrine, actually raises blood glucose level. So these are the response to the sympathetic, okay? So sympathetic response is actually these ones, okay? But parasympathetic response is completely opposite to the sympathetic response. So opposes the sympathetic system, calms the body, and decreases heart breathing rate and enhances digestion, okay? So this leads to more of a